I've been driving it for 6 months now, and I don't want to give it up.
While speaking on the Fully Charged podcast, Ford's Jim Farley discussed his company's competitors in the EV space. Ford says its EVs are proudly American-made, as the automaker's CEO now faces backlash for owning a Chinese-made electric model and openly praising it, saying he spent months driving a car from the Chinese electric vehicle brand Xiaomi. Back in 2021, Xiaomi was blacklisted by the Trump administration for being a Chinese Communist Party military company. However, that designation was later reversed by the Biden administration after Xiaomi challenged it in court. The CEO of the American Energy Institute has called Farley's decision to drive a Chinese-made EV a slap in the face to the hardworking employees at his company. Ford's PR team has since defended Farley, saying he regularly drives vehicles from all of the automaker's competitors to get a better sense of their offerings, calling it a normal and essential business practice.
I don't like talking about the competition so much, but I drive the Xiaomi. We flew one from Shanghai to Chicago, and I've been driving it for 6 months now, and I don't want to give it up.
Behind me is a Xiaomi SU7, and this is one of the most impressive vehicles from China. This makes 673 horsepower, can do 497 miles on a charge. It can go 10 to 80% in 20 minutes, and because it's all-wheel drive, the 0 to 60, 2.7 seconds. You get drilled Brembo brakes, you have sticky Michelin tires, and you get air suspension to keep you comfortable. You also get an active wing here in the back, you get a lot of space here in the front, and a lot in the back with even more under there. And inside I get this gigantic glass roof, speakers in my headrest, bucket seats that are heated and ventilated. I have a touchscreen that works super fast, 2 wireless charging pads, physical AC controls. I can adjust my wing, adjust my suspension. I get storage in here, tons of storage space under here. I have an augmented reality head-up display, a camera to make sure I don't fall asleep, and a boost mode. I also have an area to mount a GoPro, and my screen can do this. I get good space in the back, built-in cup holders, I have storage space right here, and a built-in cooler. I don't know what's more impressive, the fact that this is $41,500 US, the fact that they make an ultra version that beat a Taycan around the Nürburgring, or the fact that this is the first car this company's ever made.
It's the most humbling thing I've ever seen. 70% of all EVs in the world, electric vehicles, are made in China. They have far superior in-vehicle technology. Huawei and Xiaomi are in every car. They have facial recognition.
Cell phone technology.
Yes.
Connected to their cell phone system.
Yes, you get in, you don't have to pair your phone. Automatically, your whole digital life is mirrored in the car. You have an AI companion that you can talk to, chat GPT equivalent in China to all the automatic payment is already there. You can buy movie tickets. It has facial recognition, so it knows who's in which seat and which media you like.
Wait, why don't Ford cars have that? Would you need to deal with Apple or?
Yeah, because Google and Apple decided not to go in the car business. And even beyond that, their cost, their quality of their vehicles is far superior to what I see in the West. I mean, we are in a global competition with China, and it's not just EVs. And if we lose this, we do not have a future at Ford.
I'm only making this video because I'm tired. I'm tired of being left behind. Okay? Huawei ain't even in the cell phone business like that. They just throwing stuff out there like, yo, we got the technology. I'm gonna let you see a little something. This is a phone tablet. I don't even need an iPad because my phone is an iPad or it's a phone. And it comes with headphones. You see that? Wow. Not just any headphones, special headphones. Comes with look at that. What's that? A charging dock. Wow, what's this? Every accessory you could possibly fucking need for this phone. I'm really tired of Apple. I don't get a charger. My phone look like every other phone that I've had in the last 5 years. Okay, the new charger you came out with, now the other chargers don't work, so hopefully I got a base because you're not giving out no more of those to save the world or whatever. Like, I'm tired.
This might seem trivial, but I just deleted the Google app off my phone. Not because of any privacy or political reasons, though that's probably a good one, but just because it simply sucks.
This Google search is terrible. It's bought and it's sold, 5 or 6 links up top, all paid for. Who knows if they're good or not? And the ad button that tells you it's ads is so tiny, it's literally the smallest item on the page. I see but one link for noise-canceling headphones, and it's Best Buy. In other words, it's worthless. And of course, I already know Best Buy has headphones. There is literally no help here. It's just garbage, pure, unadulterated garbage. You wind up just doing a bunch of clicks and making a bunch of money for Google, but you don't get your problem solved because Google's doing the money grab.
I know why Chinese cars aren't sold in America. It's because they would dominate. This is the Yangwang U8. It's the luxury arm of BYD. You get LiDAR sensors here, more LiDAR up there. In the front, your main headlights are here, but at night this entire thing lights up and it looks amazing. You get one electric motor on each wheel and combined it makes 1,180 horsepower. And if you need to do a quick U-turn, watch this. So my charge port is here, and when I open it, this will tell me my charge level. But on this side, you put in gas. That powers your turbo 4-cylinder generator. This doesn't power the car, it just makes electricity for those motors. On a full charge and a full tank of gas, this can do over 600 miles. Inside, you get this panoramic roof that literally has shooting stars, and it can also do this. Ni hao, Yangwang.
What's that?
Kai tian trunk.
说到
Hey! You also get pillows in your headrest. My seats are heated, ventilated, and massaging. I get a passenger screen, ambient lighting underneath, more ambient lighting up here, and this curved display that works ultra fast. You also get a front and rear locker, 50-watt charging pads, a built-in cooler, storage space under here, and what's this? Smile. You also get this driver display with touch controls, this gorgeous steering wheel, tons of space in the back, a screen here, another one there, a third screen here, and another wireless charging pad. Not only are my back seats heated and ventilated, they can also massage me. Even my trunk has leather, wood, and suede, and look how big it is. It also has hydraulic suspension and can float in water.
Okay, how is this even possible? This is a new off-road SUV from BYD that costs less than $20,000. Like, this would be a nice interior on a $40,000 car, much less a $20,000 car. This thing has a digital gauge cluster, which something like the Model 3 doesn't have at all. And this thing is as big as a Model Y, and it's pretty decent looking. That's just a good looking SUV right there. And it has a fridge built in. I had to look this up, but yes, it has a fridge. It's a small fridge. It can only hold 4 cans, but it has a fridge in a car that costs less than 30 grand for the most specced out version. Okay, I thought the nicest version was the fridge version, but that one's $24,000. The nicest version is the drone version, which has a docking station for a drone on the roof, and that one costs $28,000. You can see the drone in this marketing image right here, and that's the docking station on top. When this is a $28,000 car, what are we doing in the United States? Also, as far as I can tell, every single version comes with this little cargo box on the back for extra storage space, which is just cool. It's honestly painful that we can't get cars like this in the United States. That is a decent looking off-road compact SUV for $20,000.
Speed just flew a flying car in China. He drove in an SUV that went in the water. He danced with a robot. He bought this super advanced gaming PC phone. He saw this drone show in Shenzhen that made him cry. The billions that the US has spent in anti-Chinese propaganda is just evaporating. It just evaporated. I do want to talk about the racism, though, that he has faced in China. I know that it's very few and far between, but as someone who grew up in small-town Ohio, you can really pick up when someone is just really curious about you but doesn't have the language to engage with you, and those that are malicious and racist. And there very well may be some bad actors here, like the translator that is horrible at translating for him, and the person that gave him fucking cotton. Regardless of what it means in Chinese society, that is no. But I do think that there is some kind of grace that I sometimes would give to people that they just were ignorant and they didn't have the tools to connect to me in a way that was, of course, completely PC and I guess woke, you could say. And growing up, I had to learn how to really kind of parse out whether someone was a bad actor or not. And I think because Speed is just so connected to and excited by China, it seems like he's sniffing out whether people are bad actors or not, while at the same time really marveling at, how incredible this country is in that he is exploring.
I love China! Hey, we love! This is China, baby! Turn up! This is China! Now show the whole city real quick! Show the whole city! Oh my God! Oh my God! Yo, my God! Crazy! This is Chongqing, China, bro. Chongqing right here. 3, 2, 1, show the other side. Holy shit! That looks insane on camera. Beautiful! Beautiful! This is Chongqing! Oh my god, I'm excited, bro. Oh my god. This city don't look real. This city does not look real, bro. China is actually not real. Damn, look at that shot. Oh my goodness. This city actually Cyber City. These shots look majestic. Oh my god. I think, chat, this was a good ending, y'all. Good ending. I really enjoyed this stream, y'all. Bought this $250,000 car in China. Let's see what it can do. Sue! The car even does the suey. Chat, the car can even dance by itself. Look. Up, down, right, left. This car can even turn by itself. Look. It can turn by itself. Hell no! It can turn by itself. I'm not even pressing nothing. Oh, did it just jump? Oh, hell no! What the hell? Chad, hell no! Chad, these cars in China crazy, bro. Oh my god! Oh my god! This car's not sinking! It's not sinking! It's not sinking and we're in the car! Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm scared! Hey, China got it! Hey, China got it!
BYD can't bring a car here because the $30,000 car, I have to give 100% tax to Uncle Sam. Another 30. So for me, the car costs 60 grand, not 30. And that's why I don't buy any, because I can buy a $40,000 or $50,000 electric car from GM or Ford or Tesla or somebody else. It's not as good, but I don't have it. There's no tariff.
Why do you laugh? BYD is trying to compete. Why do you laugh?
Have you seen their car? I don't think they have a great product.
Well, this aged like milk. At the end of 2023, BYD stormed past Tesla to become the #1 EV manufacturer on the planet.
Estimates, BYD's sales last year surpassed the $100 billion mark, beating rival Tesla on revenue for the first time since 2018. It reported a revenue of $107 billion for 2024, up 29%. Tesla's 2024 revenue, meanwhile, stood at $97.7 billion. This year already looks like it could be an even better one for the Chinese EV maker. It unveiled a new ecosystem that allows EVs to charge for 400 kilometers in just 5 minutes and introduced advanced driver assistance technology in even its most basic models.
Is this BYD Qin L, a Camry-sized sedan that starts at just $14,000 here in the Chinese market, is capable of going over 2,000 kilometers or 1,250 miles on a single tank of gas and a single charge of its battery.
So, is BYD having the last laugh?
Do you know why the Chinese car companies, the electric cars specifically, are just dominating the world? And some people say it's, country subsidy and things like that. Well, that's true. Every country does that. US does it just as much. Except when US car companies get money from the government, you know what they do? They do stock buyback. So they don't research or develop and train its employees to be better and develop better products. So you do a couple decades of that, here we are. It's unfortunate because I have a passion for cars and I love American cars. And it's sad to see it dying.
This is incorrect. Capitalism and communism doesn't create innovation. There's simply two ways of distributing resources amongst the people. You know what creates innovation? Science, technology, engineering, math, chemistry, physics, learning, reading, open-mindedness. It allows you to think freely without judgment. Go experiment, try new things, date new people, travel the world. Makes you think critically, makes you accept and feel love and love other things. That's what creates innovation. That's what makes a country great and the whole world better. Not some political system.
The U.S. government bans staff from romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese citizens. Seems racist, no? At first I thought it was a total joke, but Daily Mail is pretty reputable, so I checked several other sources.
The U.S. government has a message for their personnel posted in China. Maintain a strong relationship with our allies, but it must be platonic.
American diplomats, their families, and security-cleared contractors in China and Hong Kong are banned from engaging in romantic or sexual relationships with Chinese citizens.
Now, before the internet freaks out and says Donald Trump is obviously a racist, this policy was actually enacted by departing U.S. Ambassador Nicholas Burns in January, shortly before he left China. Former President Joe Biden nominated Burns to be the ambassador to China in 2021, and he was confirmed by the Senate in December of 2021. Liberals, you have some explaining to do. It seems like we're headed towards murky racial waters. I can't see how this won't create more hate, and I'm just honestly fucking confused.
The problem is that in this scenario, to use your metaphor, the US has the bigger gun, and so China ends up having more to lose from this trade war, doesn't it? You know, it can't sustain the loss of 15% of its export market, i.e. what you export to the US.
Not at all. China is fully prepared to fight to the very end because the world is big enough that the United States is not the totality of the market in the world. So if the United States wants to go in that direction of completely shutting itself out of the China market, be my guest.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
Okay, I think I know what they're doing with the tariff. Hear me out. I've been working trade for some time now. When you increase the tariff, but you have exceptions, what that means, there are definitely companies right now working backdoor with the Trump administration, basically getting exempted. So they're skipping a tariff and they're basically smuggling. And you're allowed to do this. That's the deal. That's why you're doing tariff for everybody. And you make these backdoor deals on certain companies, certain products that are exempted. There you go. Also, since the administration controls all of the government agencies, such as border control, they basically say, hey, we'll let you pass, we'll let you smuggle, if you pay us a little bit in my pocket.
Each year, big oil and gas companies spend around $120 million on lobbying in the US alone. Fossil fuel lobbyists are extremely active in the EU too. Reportedly, they have met with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's team 900 times in the last 4.5 years. That's nearly one meeting every workday. The oil and gas giants are lobbying against the expansion of renewable energies, electric vehicles, climate laws. Yet they're branding themselves as green. Lobbyists are pushing for carbon capture systems and the use of low-carbon fuels.
Oil and gas industry say we'll give you $1 billion in campaign contributions if you do what we want when you are sworn in. And the day he's sworn in, Trump issues an executive order gutting environmental rules so that the oil and gas industry can start making bigger amounts of money.
Elon's very upset that the EV mandate
is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I love Tesla. So I'm going to buy. And I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. This is beautiful. Whoa! Should I get in? Everything's computer. That's beautiful. Wow.
Well, here's what I think is some good breaking news. Trump ends California's EV mandate, a mandate which was going to force people to buy electric vehicles eventually. And I don't know about you, but I dislike electric vehicles. Being a mechanic, I like engines that run on fuel. And if I lived in California, thank God I don't, I was going to dislike being forced to purchase electric vehicles. I think that everyone should have the right to pick and choose what they want to drive, especially at different costs. Now, Trump did state, and I quote, "We officially rescue the U.S. auto industry from destruction by terminating the California electric vehicle mandate once and for all." And I'm also happy about this because I live in New Jersey and my current administration does whatever the fuck California does. But not even that. As an auto mechanic, solely working on EVs will put me out of business.
Has the potential to clean our clock. That's why I'm a big EV guy. I know not everybody is. But BYD, EV company, it's got a market cap that literally, you look at all the American automobile manufacturers combined, exceeds it. They're flooding the zone around the world with EVs. In Russia, in Europe, in Brazil, in South America. They're dominating this space. The technology platforms that these cars provide, the AI components of that, the autonomy that comes from that, GM's toast. Mary Barra has sold her soul. They literally ceded to China one of the next great economic opportunities, and that's in the space. Elon's always understood that. And thank God we've had him. I'm his biggest supporter at Tesla. No one's been a bigger supporter. But China's clicking our clock on that, and these technologies of the future. If we don't get our ass in gear and get serious again about economic industrial policy, not just tariff policy, it's a tool, but worker-centered industrial policy, but immigration reform is foundational in that respect. Sorry, I get all.
California is suing big oil. The state is claiming oil executives knew for decades that burning fossil fuels would contribute to climate change and lied to the public to protect their bottom line. Let's take a closer look. California says oil companies were aware that the effects of greenhouse gas emissions would be catastrophic as early as the 1950s. This warning was ignored, and so were the dozens of others that came in the decades to follow, some from scientists oil companies themselves hired, according to the lawsuit. In fact, a 1978 internal memo from Exxon predicted global warming. By 1988, oil companies had decades of research showing that burning fossil fuels contributes to global warming, California alleges. But instead of informing the public, the oil industry launched disinformation campaigns that spanned decades, California claims. For instance, in 1996, Exxon circulated a publication called Global Warming: Who's Right? Facts about a debate that's turned up more questions than answers. The document attempted to sow uncertainty about the science behind climate change. Even now, with climate change a widely known threat, big oil continues to deceive consumers, according to the lawsuit. For example, California notes, the oil industry markets various fossil fuel products as green, clean, and environmentally friendly. The state argues that oil companies broke the law by making deceptive statements like these. Moreover, California asserts that big oil created an ongoing public nuisance and harmed or destroyed natural resources. California wants oil companies to pay for the harm they've caused. Some of the funds the state is seeking would pay for recovery efforts connected to extreme weather events like wildfires, droughts, and floods, all of which are becoming increasingly frequent and costing the state tens of billions of dollars, according to the lawsuit. The state says it will continue to incur these costs years into the future. Some are comparing this attack on the oil industry to legal fights against big tobacco and big pharma, which have led to defendants paying hundreds of billions of dollars. The California lawsuit itself even draws a parallel between big oil's misinformation campaigns and those put out by the tobacco industry. Climate activists can take comfort in the fact California is reportedly the largest economy so far to sue big oil, but only time will tell if oil companies will meet the same fate as other corporate giants who lie to the public. Given California's influence on the fossil fuel industry and the global economy as a whole, this move could mark a major turning point in the fight for climate justice.
Joe Biden's got a plan to save us all from climate change.
Thanks, Joe.
We just have to not build any new gas or oil.
Easy.
Which explains why America's developing the largest fossil fuel build-out on Earth.
What?
Of so-called clean LNG that's actually dirtier than coal.
That's just greenwashing.
In 2015, the U.S. exported no LNG at all. But this year, they climbed their way to #1.
Thanks, fracking.
Using LNG to gain global energy dominance by unleashing a carbon megabomb. But Americans won't have to wait for all this sludge to hit the fan. It's causing cancer today and can melt your skin right off. And it's only for export, so domestic energy prices are also gonna rise. But the facility's protected from rising oceans by a 30-foot wall.
Yeah, that'll work.
So the Department of Energy's granting these permits later on this year.
What? Why?
For 20 new LNG facilities we can't allow.
Oh, they have one job.
Everybody on Earth needs to fight U.S. oil and gas, because everywhere's a sacrifice, so now.
I'm constantly hearing people blame Joe Biden for high gas prices, but did you know Trump actually cut a deal that raised oil prices for Americans? In 2020, then President Trump made an agreement with Vladimir Putin, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, to increase oil prices so that he could benefit his largest big oil donor, Harold Hamm. Falling oil prices caused by a price war between Russia and OPEC were severely damaging Texas's energy economy, and Texas oil tycoons like Hamm could not compete with the lower prices. Hamm warned Trump that if Texas's oil economy collapsed, it could severely damage his chance at a second term. It would also likely damage his future chances of getting money from Hamm, and Trump knew that, given Hamm and his big oil co-parts have contributed nearly $21 million to Trump, pro-Trump super PACs, and the RNC. So he persuaded OPEC and Russia to end their price war by producing fewer barrels of oil a day. If they didn't, he threatened to end a military partnership with Saudi Arabia that's been in place since 1951. So fast forward, Biden is president and is now tasked with lowering oil prices after our then president raised them on purpose to benefit one of his key benefactors. This is yet another reminder that when critics say the economy was bad under the Biden administration, it was partially due to the fallout from Trump, who made decisions led by money.
Yesterday, the Environmental Protection Agency announced what it called the biggest deregulatory action in U.S. history. The proposed rollbacks would impact dozens of rules, from emissions limits for power plants and vehicles to waste water regulations and air quality standards. Stephanie Tsai has more.
Now, the EPA was created by President Nixon in 1970, in essence to protect the air we breathe and the water we drink. Under later presidents, that mission expanded to addressing greenhouse gases, which contribute to global warming. Now, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin says his agency wants to drive a dagger straight into the heart of what he calls climate change religion. With the stated goal of unleashing energy, Zeldin's proposals include a call to upend the basis for all the EPA's climate change actions. To help us unpack some of this, we're joined by Zach Coleman, who covers the topic for Politico. Zach, just describe the scope and scale of these proposed changes.
This is the most sweeping rollback of environmental rules in the nation's history. We're talking about going back to the 1970s era, where these rules didn't even exist yet. So this is potentially erasing decades of climate and air pollution rules. But again, this is also going to be something that's litigated in the courts. So we don't quite yet know exactly where this will end up.
So among the dozens of rules proposed that would roll back environmental protections, Zeldin also made it clear that he wants to revise the conclusion that greenhouse gases endanger public health. That was a scientific finding reached by Obama's EPA in 2009. Here's what Zeldin said yesterday.
I've been told the endangerment finding is considered the holy grail of the climate change religion. For me, the U.S. Constitution and the laws of this nation will be strictly interpreted and followed. No exceptions. Today, the Green New scam ends.
And indeed, this finding, as I understand it, Zach, is foundational to all the EPA's climate change regulations. What would it take for the Trump administration to overturn that?
It would take a lot. I mean, you have to come up with science that says the thing that we know is not true, that global warming isn't happening and that humans are not contributing to it and that climate change isn't a problem for public health and the environment. It doesn't seem clear how exactly they would be able to accomplish that. The other potential avenue is a legal avenue, and it's not yet clear exactly how the Trump administration would pursue that. Again, the Trump administration tried to roll back a lot of environmental laws in its first term, and it lost a lot. It did not succeed in many of those cases. So a lot of this is up in the air, but it's very clear that these are enormous strikes against foundational climate law and science.
I just want to follow up on that. If the end goal is for the Trump administration to get this back to the Supreme Court, is there a world in which you envision a conservative-leaning court actually relitigating the case that brought us to the endangerment finding?
I think that's one of the big questions, and it's certainly something that the Trump administration is willing to try. This is a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court, and there has been a lot of disdain in the Republican circles about the decision that led to the endangerment finding. There's a lot of people who think that decision never should have been made. So I think there is very much an interest in testing whether this court would pick that up, and I think a lot of conservatives feel like they would be on pretty decent footing, at least compared to that 2007 decision that led to the endangerment finding.
Environmentalists and Democrats are slamming this announcement, saying it's about, quote, lining the pockets of billionaire corporate polluters. The Trump administration argues this deregulation will kickstart the economy and lower costs for everyday Americans. How are relevant industries responding, Zach?
Well, industries are responding positively to the idea of rolling back climate and air pollution regulations. A lot of them thought that the Biden administration policies were taking the markets to an unrealistic place. You look at auto sector in particular, where there were a lot of companies that said, look, we agree that we need to transition to electric vehicles, but the marks that you're putting down are a little too aggressive and they're not based on consumer preference. People aren't buying these cars at the rate that we would need to actually produce them to meet these rules. So there is a lot of applause from industry. However, there is some concern from industry circles and even some Republicans about going after the endangerment finding, which they think could be a distraction, actually could be politically demotivating to getting some of these regulations done.
I want to ask you one quick question. The EPA also announced it is shuttering its environmental justice offices. What could the immediate impact be there?
When you think about environmental justice, this is about helping communities that have been disproportionately burdened with pollution. They're often located near heavy emitting facilities because of political disenfranchisement, where people didn't get a chance to push back against things that they didn't want in their backyard. And if you get rid of those offices while at the same time lowering the floor of environmental standards for the entire country, it's really a double hit to those communities that have always taken the brunt of our nation's pollution and have the least ability to resist that being thrust upon them again.
Zach Coleman, climate change reporter at Politico. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
The first rule of white empire is that every accusation is a confession. Following this rule, John McCain was in fact confessing when he said,
Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country.
The gas station with nukes is, in fact, America. Just look. In this image from the New York war crimes, you can see what a fossil fool America has become. While China has moved on to free trade and renewables, America is sanctioning and fighting themselves into a carbonized corner. America bans its own people from importing solar panels and cheap EVs, and is rapidly becoming a fossilized wasteland. People driving $100,000 dinosaur trucks around, while everyone else is trying to avoid the meteor of climate change. America became the world's top producer of oil and gas under Obama, who famously said,
that whole suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer and the biggest gas. That was me, people. I just want you to.
That was me, people. And under Trump, they're even more unapologetic about it.
We will drill, baby, drill.
Understanding that America is a gas station with nukes, in fact, explains a lot of American policy. The Ukraine war was just America's way of sticking up Europe, blowing up Germany's pipeline to Russia.
There will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
And forcing them to buy overpriced American gas. In the same way, American sanctions and actions against Venezuela and Iran are just attacking the competition. And American sanctions against China are trying desperately to keep the Green Revolution down, to make some last desperate green from black and brown. Remember always that America is just a business, and they'll follow the money all the way down. This is just part of my argument, so if you're part of the 10% that makes it this far, why not join the 1% and actually read something? I invite you to visit my website, worldwideweb.indie.ca. I'm really a writer, not a TikToker.
And now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
This is a story about how the world's most powerful, richest country is slowly losing its influence.
And it's evident here.
We can see across Brazil, thousands of Ford cars almost disappeared.
Meanwhile, China's BYD is becoming increasingly common. It's evidence of the growing connection between Brazil and China, the B and the C of the BRICS Plus coalition. This is a group that hopes to rival the US-led G7.
Over time, more countries started expressing interest in joining BRICS. So now there are 10 countries.
10 countries equals economic power. Look at how the original BRICS have grown compared to the G7 in terms of global GDP since 2009. It surpassed the G7 in 2019. Now add in the expanded lineup, and its share is nearly 40%.
The trajectory is clear. BRICS countries are growing faster.
This mantra,
America first,
has created an opening.
The trade war increased the solidarity between BRICS nations.
They want a multipolar world in which there are multiple centers of geopolitical influence.
But can these countries unite to become a meaningful global force?
It's very effective as a symbolic grouping, but how that evolves is probably going to depend to some degree how on all their individual economies do, how they perceive the US is moving economically and politically, and how seriously they themselves want to move on big global issues.
Trump's tariffs are doing what the world should have done long ago, uniting the world around sanctioning America. By declaring tariffs on everyone in the world, Trump is isolating America. You can see how the coverage has changed in my own country, Sri Lanka, since the tariffs were first introduced in April. Back then, even our comprador press was freaking out about 44% tariffs, but now 30% tariffs is being hailed as an improvement. As the central bank governor said, this shift enhances our relative competitiveness, and the Chamber of Commerce talks about regional competitors and regional peers. Note that people aren't really talking about America anymore. We're talking about the rest of the world, which is how multipolarity should be going. Trump tried to move the world, but the world is just moving on without it. Now, all global exporters are in the same boat, while the American importer is the one stuck at the port and stuck with the bill. All the importer can do is send us an email saying, please eat the difference, but every exporter can say, eat my shorts. We might move a little bit relative to our competitor's tariff rate, but that's it. We have the power most dreaded by buyers to say, where else are you going to go? Everybody is tariffed. Are Americans going to start stitching their own underwear now? I don't think so. Sri Lankans will certainly suffer and will certainly lose business, but in many ways, being sanctioned by America is the best thing that can happen to your economy. And if we're being honest, the whole world should have cut off trade with America long ago. They're committing a genocide right now, and only Yemen is doing their duty in that regards. But Abu Donald, our man inside, is helping us dismantle America from within. Now everybody is slapping a tax on America, because America is sanctioning itself.
The U.S. economy doesn't fear war, it fears peace.
Back in the 1970s, Sylvia Porter, one of America's first nationally respected economic journalists, noticed a pattern no one wanted to talk about. Every time a president suggests serious cuts to the Pentagon budget, she wrote, the stock market drops. Investors panic. They treat peace as if it were a threat. Because by then, defense spending wasn't just about national security. It was economic stimulus. Weapons contracts created jobs. Military research fed industries. And defense companies, Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, became household tickers on Wall Street. Fast forward to today. We're still living in the world Sylvia warned us about. The Pentagon budget now consumes over half of all discretionary federal spending. We have more military bases overseas than we have counties in some states. And defense stocks spike every time conflict escalates. We are not running a war economy, Sylvia once said. We are running a war-dependent economy. And when war becomes good for business, peace becomes bad for profits. That's not national security. That's economic dependency on destruction.
America doesn't give a fuck about solving any problems in the world. All the autocrats and terrorists and conflicts are not problems to be solved any more than dirtiness is a problem to be solved for doves. The threats are in fact the center of a whole marketing campaign, and the threats are manufactured. There's always been oriental despots everywhere, but what does that have to do with someone in America whose treasury you're trying to loot? Nothing really, unless marketing puts them on the mental map before bombs do. The more problems the better when you're in the solutions business. And luckily both supply and demand can be manufactured if you're a terrible human. It's also much better if your solutions don't actually work. The bombs just need to look like they work, so the suckers keep buying more. Thus America creates more terrorism everywhere they go to eliminate terrorism, like AFRICOM. Why the fuck would they want to eliminate terrorism? This would be like Dove eliminating dirt. They're homicidal, not suicidal. I think of white empire like a watermelon with lots of rubber bands around it. If you put one rubber band on the watermelon, nothing happens. If you put 10 more, it's fine. But keep piling them on, and in time, the whole thing explodes like a landmine. Tension builds and builds until it must unbuild rapidly and violently. This is how I view empire. It may seem like it's getting away with lots of crimes now, but it's really going away. War crime by war crime. Each seeming notch on their belt, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, is in fact tightening it. Each braid on the noose, like sanctions, their sanctimoniousness, and cinema, is sticking their own neck out. They say it's darkest before the dawn, yes, but it's also whitest before the end of white empire. We are witnessing the great fall of white empire, not the great rewind. Yes, we are suffering many losses, the loss of many universes every day, but listen to the Quran. The Quran says, if you are suffering hardships, they too are suffering similar hardships, but what you can hope for from God, they cannot. The wicked victories of empire are in fact losses if you think a bit deeply and beneath the censorship. The loss of international prestige, the loss of moral authority, the loss of military supremacy, these are all meaningless losses until they're not. Like bands on a watermelon, slowly but surely, they're going to tighten and blow up. The resistance is building and building pressure while the empire is blowing and blowing treasure. The empire's attacks on children are not a sign of strength. That's all they can do now. They're a luxury terrorism force running on credit and spending it like they're going out of business, which they are. This is all a fire sale, not a display of real firepower. Yes, they are causing unspeakable hardship, but they're also suffering hardship that they don't speak about. I know it seems far away, but remember the watermelon. Each act of resistance is a rubber band, and the empire's own resistance to the resistance heaps even more tension upon them. The unbearable tension you feel in your heart is bearing upon them also, as much as they try and censor and as heartless as they are. And finally remember that what the resistance can hope for from God, the white empire cannot, because they're evil and everybody hates them. So don't lose hope, So don't lose hope, as hopeless as it feels sometimes. It's always whitest before the fall of white empire.